Today, we are going to be talking about interracial dating.
Black queens forever, snow bunnies never.
Oh, it's your boy Squeeze with the 3 in between the 2 E's. And we're back again with another video. Boop, 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 boop.
That's the big man.
Happy Squeeze Sunday. Thank you guys for choosing to be here again with me. So what's going on? Why do I look like I just got into a brawl and left without clothing?
Nicely done.
I am getting myself ready for a video shoot. Big Price in Caviar Sunday, they have a shoot today for their song that just dropped, Holla. The joint is pretty tough. Like it's one of them summer smash hits. Shorties, if you like to twerk, this is one of them songs. Homies, you know, if you want to listen to a song and feel like you really that nigga, this is one of those songs. So I'm gonna be getting ready. It's gonna be like some pool type vibes, you know, water guns and all types of stuff. So real talk, I said something online. I asked you guys for your help. I wanted to see if you wanted me to cover any topics. You did. You tapped in on my live. You tapped in the comments on the video that I posted, and you guys gave me a lot of topics to cover. And today we are going to be talking. Today we are going to be talking about interracial dating.
I said black queens forever, snow bunnies never.
It's interesting that this is the topic, you know, just a bit about me. I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts. My earlier years living there, I didn't really know, I did know diversity, but it wasn't in the way that you're probably thinking. Where I was living and where I was, you know, bouncing around, there was a huge Caribbean, there was a huge Caribbean community, huge African community, and then Latinx community, really, really, really big in Boston. So my earlier years, when I was at school, like I felt like the minority, you know. This is like elementary school. I felt like the minority going to school and literally having to learn Spanish. Like it was a requirement. These were our classes, second grade, third grade, fourth grade. I had to learn Spanish, you know, because mostly everybody there spoke it fluently. Myself, I was not one of those people. So, um, you know, that was just a bit in that aspect. And then when I went to private school, back to private school technically, everybody seemed to be really, really attached to their Caribbean roots. Whereas I knew I had Caribbean blood, but I wasn't really tapped into that side. You know, my dad, you know, I think at that time, actually, he was still in prison. He was in New York, and a lot of my family from my Bayesian side was in New York too. So I didn't really know too much about that side of me. So even then, I felt like an outsider. So when I think maybe a year after that, I got accepted into this program called the MECO program. And if you don't know what it is, it's basically taking the inner city youth and integrating the suburban schools outside of those bounds of the city. So you're basically taking black and brown kids and integrating white suburbia. And the benefits of this is, for me at least, the education is just a bit different, you know? The environment's a lot different. You're able to focus on education and less on the bullshit that might come along with being in the inner city. And that was my experience. From 6th through 12th grade, I was out there, outside of Boston, outside of where I was living and going to school and experiencing life in a completely different way. There was a lot of white people, man. And it was like, up until that point, I hadn't seen that many white people. I hadn't gone to school with that many white people. It was usually, when I was going to school, it was usually like one white person in my class. And then it turned into, now I'm like one of a couple black kids in a class. It was a complete 180 from that than what I was used to. So, you know, spending years out there is like, you start to develop or adapt to the culture. At least I did. And, I was attracted to white girls. I was attracted to girls, period.
Snow,
bunny has no.
Black, brown, it didn't really like matter. Like if you were pretty, if I found you attractive, then the likelihood that I wanted to slide was pretty high. So um, it wasn't until I got to high school that I started dating more people that looked like me, you know, and that's just what it was. You know, I think it had a lot more to do with experiences, being able to connect on that level, and being able to have conversations without having the need to constantly feel like you're explaining everything or just being misunderstood. Because who wants to feel misunderstood in their romantic relationship? Not me. So that's basically when that transition. So yeah, that's my background. While I talk to you, I'm actually gonna be twisting my hair. Just so I'm not losing time, because I will lose time. But yeah, so that's a bit about me. So I'm if you're not knowing where my perspective on this is going, it's basically this. Interracial couples and interracial dating, I really don't care. I don't. I don't care what people do. Why should I care? You know? Now, how do I feel about it? I think that you should be with someone who doesn't make you feel guilty about being the person that you are. You should also be with someone who's going to push you to be a better version of yourself. And you should also be with someone who's going to allow you to hold them accountable in being the best person and best version of themselves as well. You know, I always advocate for my people and, the advancement of black and brown and, people in my community or whatever. But realistically, I want to see everyone win. I want to see everybody, like, I have white friends, I have brown friends, I have black friends, I have all kind of friends. You know what I mean? So uh, when I say like my people, it's tough to just be like, yeah, my people are just black people, you know, because that's not the case. Because realistically, there are ops on every side. There are people who may look like me that I can't get behind. Whatever they choose to do, whatever it is, it's like like morally we may not align, but I respect you on a humane level. You know, I'm not gonna disrespect you. I'm gonna show you the utmost respect.
Message.
And as far as like interracial dating goes, um, what I don't stand behind is fetishizing. I don't stand behind fetishizing people based on where they're from. I think that's weird. I think, there are deeper underlying things in regards to that. You know what I mean? Um, I don't like that. I don't like people saying, "Oh, I like this. I like these people. I like Latino women because black women ain't this." It's like, bro, you can like what you like, but then putting down a whole culture to justify why you like what you like, that's weird to me. That's weird to me, especially if it's your own culture. You know what I mean? Like that just screams self-hate to me. And that just means like, bro, you just gotta do the work. You gotta do the work on yourself to not hate yourself, bro. Cause like you putting down people to make your life decisions and life choices seem better. That just sounds not only ignorant, but that just sounds insecure. I don't need permission to stand on what I stand on. I don't need anybody's validation to stand on what I stand on. So then to be like, oh, I like this because like that over there is trash. It's like, bro, you don't gotta diminish the quality of what's over there to justify the quality of what you stand for over here. I think there's a lot of weird stuff that come along with interracial dating. But to say that I stand against it is so, bro, it's so far from the truth. I actually stand for it. I like seeing people with people that understand them on a microscopic level. Cause it's hard to find, bro. It's not easy. It's not easy to have to be a person who's going through life and dealing with all the negativity that life does have to offer, and then to come and find somebody who makes it feel like it's worth it, you know, on a like long term, not on some we just with each other for like 6 months and then we hate each other's guts and we never talk again. No, like real romance, real connection, you know, like that is important, you know. But I also stand for people who want to keep the bloodline strong. You know, I think that's important too because like as a race of people, there's just so many things that we may never, like if we don't preserve, we may never see again. You know, like people with orange or red hair, like that is so cool to me. You know what I mean? But it's not a dominant trait. It's not a dominant gene. So there's gonna be people out there who wanna retain that thing in their family, just like a last name. You know what I mean? Like I think there's just balance in it all, and we all play a part in our in the grand scheme of things. I don't think everybody should do things the same way. I think everyone should develop their own morals and abide and live by those without stepping on people to stand on what they stand on. You know, because you don't have to do that. Like if you want to marry a woman with black hair and brown eyes, do that. You know, that's your standard of beauty. Okay, cool. But make sure you're doing the work and understanding like, okay, this is why I go for what I go for. Cuz if you don't, then you risk just blindly walking into something that may not be good for you. You know what I mean? And it's not good for you because you don't know what you're doing. You're just doing, you know? And there's a lot more to life than just doing and not, you know, looking within and pushing for growth. I think like most people just they stop they stop trying to grow, you know? They stop trying to grow because they start justifying who they are and they start getting with people who validate them in their wrong choices or like their bad choices or detrimental choices, I should say. And that's not what life is about. That's when you end up in a toxic relationship, you know? Like there's just no way like imagine getting with someone purely based on how they look and they fit your standard of beauty and you're like, wow, I finally hit the lottery, you know what I mean? I finally struck gold. I finally got what I was looking for. And they're only with you because of the way you look. Like they fetishize how you look, but behind them is a bunch of trauma and people telling them that what you look like isn't beautiful, you know? And they're really just with you out of spite, subconsciously, because they're rebels, right? They're just rebelling against their family's wishes. And then you guys have a kid. And then, you know, they look at their kid and they look at your kid and now all that trauma is pent up. You know what I mean? The negative things that they learned about people who look like you is pent up and now is directed at the child subconsciously. And now this child grows up hating the way that they look.
Message.
Bro, people don't think about that stuff. They only think about things from their point of views. They only think about things from their point of views. And if you're gonna do something as severe and important as starting a family, then you can't turn a blind eye to these facts because they exist. You know, they do. And the best thing that you can do is learn more about yourself. Do that dirty work, do the groundwork. Ask yourself, why am I like this? And be honest about what you are actually like. Yeah. And get around people who reflect you to you and can actually communicate with you and be like, yo, what you did there was weird, or what you did there wasn't cool. And not on some argumentative stuff, but like on a meet me at my level, let's have a conversation about this stuff. You know? That's a fruitful relationship, platonic or not. So that's my standard of relationships. I don't think I don't think you can really just put a color on it. I think it's really just about life experiences and openness to grow. I have an issue with people who say that they don't see color. In an ideal world, nobody would see color. But the fact that there are people who do, and there's a lot of them, I'm gonna need you to see it. Because when I tell you about my experiences, I don't need you to be like, "Come on, is that really happening?" As if everyone sees things the way that you do. It's like, bro. And also being honest with yourself about, okay, maybe I am a part of the problem too. Even if question quote unquote I don't see color, that doesn't mean you're incapable of saying and doing racist stuff, because racism is passed down. It's passed. It is through dialogue, through jokes, through perception, stereotyping, whether they're negative or positive in your eyes. Like, bro, when I was going to school, like I would do something athletic or I would do something like really cool, and then like people would like, oh yeah, that was cool, and then it'll be that one white person and be like, it's because you're black. And to them, that's a compliment. But to me, it's like, what are you talking about? Like, you know what I mean? I'm trying my best not to swear right now. To them, that's a compliment. To a sixth grader, like there's nothing wrong with saying that. But to the black sixth grader that is being said to, what are you really trying to say? How am I supposed to internalize that? Does that mean what I did isn't really all that special? But it's really like, where did you hear that? Where did you learn that? Who told that to you? Who told you that all black people are athletic? Because I assure you, that is so far from the truth. It's not true. It's not true. It's really not true. You come to the hood, I'll show you. Pick a court, any court you want, and the dude dressed high with a headband, a wrist sweatband on his wrist, and you know the newest J. Like he's gonna. I promise you, he's not what he looks to be. I promise you. But there was a lot of my experiences, and even that definitely played its role in how I select my partners. Because I don't want that passed on to my children. I don't want that perception passed on to my children. They're gonna hear it. You know, they're already gonna hear it. So I would much rather a more controlled environment where I know the person who I'm with, the mother of my kids, is going to be able to empathize with where I'm coming from as a black man and the father and the head of the household. When I'm teaching my kids these lessons, when I'm talking to my son about how to address police and how to move when there are police around, how to move with people who don't come from where you come from, whether they look like you or not. You know, and also on the topic of interracial dating, I think it's important to talk about dating people who look like you but don't come from where you come from. I think that needs to be talked about more, because it's like me, I can't speak for any other race outside of myself because I'm black. I'm not anything else. But as a black man, I might be attracted to a black woman, right? That doesn't come come from a place like Boston, where you grow up in the hood, but you're also able to experience life on the other spectrum like I did, and everybody in Boston doesn't have that experience, but to some extent they might, you know what I mean? Like I've dated someone who we butt heads just on the simple fact that, she was raised as an only child, you know what I mean? Um, and through that, there's so many dynamics and things that come into play that you don't even consider that might be an issue. It's like you got to really teach each other stuff. It's like you're an only child, I'm the youngest, so our experiences growing up were different. Sharing is actually a thing. You know what I mean? Like, there might be areas where she might be a little bit more selfish than I might be, or like understanding wise. You might be dating somebody who was homeschooled, and now, or 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 you might be dating someone who never played a team sport, never, like was never a part of a team sport, and for someone like me, all I did was team sports when I was young. So I understand the power of, you know, teamwork. And they might be on some I do everything myself type stuff. So then they expect you to do everything yourself. I just think it's less about race and more about experiences is all I'm saying. So when you're selecting your partner, just be very attentive and very intentional about the questions that you're asking each other, because just because it looks good doesn't mean it's good for you. And the likelihood that things are too good to be true when they feel like they are is pretty high that it's too good to be true, play a pimp. So just be careful out there, be vigilant with who you're giving your time to, who you're giving your body to, who you're giving your mind to, who you're you know anything. Anything. I know I just went on a rant. I'm supposed to be getting ready, but I feel like all of that was important to say. Um, Shoot, this might be its own episode. I'm not gonna lie. This might be its own Squeeze Sunday. Yeah, this might be its own Squeeze Sunday. But let me know what you guys think about what I said in the comments. Um, how do you guys feel about interracial relationships? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Why? Why? Have you been in an interracial relationship? And then, maybe just talk about that experience if you're open enough to. Um, but yeah, no, I appreciate you guys for watching this episode. Yeah, I'm about to just make this his own thing. I'm about to just make this his own thing, and then you'll see next week how the video shoot went. But thank you again for watching, and hopefully I'll be done with this very very soon. My hair. If you want to support the channel, go ahead and click the threes link down below. It is my merch. I have body butters and all lemon inspired things that you can tap in with. And there's something on there for everybody. So yeah, if you want to support me, if you want me to keep doing these, that's the best way to help. I am an independent artist. I don't have a major team behind me. Like it's me and a few family, so that believe in me. So I appreciate you guys for tapping in. My name is Squeeze again. If this is your first time here, thank you for being here. Smash that like button. Maybe if you don't feel comfortable enough talking about interracial relationships, tell me what you want to talk about the next time. Put that in the comments too, and I read everything. So yeah, go ahead, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you back here next week for Squeeze Sundays. Oh!